Hello and welcome to Owning the Narrative. I am Bulow. The show will feature the top news of the week, complete with my observations, and even a little bit of sarcasm thrown in. The top news stories will be taken from my morning news briefings that I write on the Rick Bulow New Media blog every weekday morning. If you go on to like what you see, smash that thumbs up button. And now, let's go right into the news. With 29 days until the election, October has been known to have an October surprise. My opinion, I think we just got it with Trump and coronavirus, and actually, there's a lot that we know and that we don't know. This coming from the Associated Press.com. Says what we know and what we don't know about Trump's diagnosis. A White House physician's comments on Sunday about the health of President Donald Trump amid his coronavirus diagnosis added a new layer of confusion even as the doctors sought to clarify contradictory statements from the day before. Here's what we know and what we don't know. What we know, Trump's medical condition. Dr. Sean Conley, the president's physician, said Trump was given the steroid dexamethasone after his blood oxygen level had dropped suddenly twice in recent days, but he has continued to improve since then. Conley said Trump could be discharged from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center as early as Monday. Conley said Trump had a high fever and a blood oxygen level below 94% on Friday, and during another episode on Saturday, Conley was evasive when asked whether Trump's blood oxygen level had dropped below 90%. We don't have any recordings here on that. The level currently stands at 98%, Trump's medical team says. Blood oxygen saturation is a key health marker for COVID-19 patients. A normal reading is between 95 and 100. A drop below 90 is concerning. Trump's team said Sunday that Trump received oxygen at the White House on Friday, but they were not clear on whether he received any Saturday. The additional details emerged after White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows on Saturday said some of Trump's vital signs were very concerning Friday. That disclosure contradicted a rosy assessment Trump's doctors had initially provided. Now, along with the steroid, Trump had been treated with 2 experimental drugs, doctors said. On Friday, Trump was given a single dose of a drug that Regeneron Pharmaceuticals Inc. is willing to supply is testing to supply antibodies to help his immune system fight the virus. Trump also has taken 2 doses of a 5-day course of remdesivir, a Gilead Sciences drug currently used for moderately and severely ill patients. Trump's team said Sunday that Trump is up and around and doing well. They said if things continue to go well, Trump will be able to return to the White House on Monday to continue his treatment. Now, what we don't know is Trump's medical condition. Trump's medical team continued to dodge many questions Sunday, such as the specific timing of the president's sipping oxygen and impact of the disease on his lungs. Asked repeatedly about what lung scan tests found and whether there had been any signs of pneumonia or other damage, Conley said, "We're tracking all of that. There are some expected findings, but nothing of any major clinical concern." Conley also hadn't specified where Trump is in the disease course of COVID-19. Days 7 to 10 typically are a time of higher concern, he said. But we know when Trump fell ill, Trump started showing symptoms by Thursday, a full day before the White House announced what were initially called mild symptoms. Conley said Trump showed some common signs of COVID-19 on Thursday: a mild cough, stuffy nose, and fatigue. The president tested positive that evening, the doctor said. The timeline matters as an indication of how transparent Trump, his staffers, and doctors are being about the president's health and whether Trump should have known he may have been spreading the virus as he mingled with campaign donors, staffers, and others on Thursday. What we don't know when Trump fell ill. Conley declined to say when Trump had been last tested before Thursday's last confirmed COVID-19. What we know, how Trump was infected. It's not clear, but attention is focusing on a White House event September 26, introducing Trump's Supreme Court nominee. Trump gathered more than 150 people in the Rose Garden where they mingled, hugged, and shook hands, overwhelmingly without masks. Photos also show several indoor receptions where Trump's nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, her family, senators, and others gathered in the close quarters in the White House. Among those who attended who have now tested positive, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, White House Counselor Kellyanne Conway, the president of the University of Notre Dame, and at least two Republican lawmakers, Utah Senator Mike Lee and North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis. But we don't know how Trump was infected. There's no way to know for sure if the Rose Garden event was where Trump, who typically shuns a mask and has kept holding big public gatherings during the pandemic, was exposed. The president had a full week of official and campaign events before his hospitalization Friday. A third Republican Senator, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, announced his positive test Saturday, and he had not attended Barrett's nomination kickoff. The administration says the White House medical team is tracing contacts. Now, like I said on Friday, it could be a false positive. However, that being said, things are busy. I mean, and like I said, with this being 29 days until the election, this could be an October surprise, but we're still early in October. Also, yesterday, Trump had actually done a little bit of a surprise. This coming from our good friends at Washington Examiner. Mass Trump salutes fans outside Walter Reed Hospital in motorcade drive-by. A masked President Trump surprised fans who have gathered outside the Walter Reed Medical Center since he was diagnosed with COVID-19 with a motorcade drive-by before heading back into the hospital. Earlier Sunday, the president tweeted his report for the gathering outside, saying that his supporters care about the direction of the country and see his administration is making America greater than ever before. I really appreciate all the fans and supporters outside of the hospital, Trump wrote. The fact is, they really love our country and are seeing how we are making it greater than ever before. He followed that tweet up with a video lesson 2 hours later, echoing his remarks and praising the amazing work done by the medical staff at Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. He then hinted that he was going to make a little surprise visit to the patriots out there on the street before footage subsequently emerged of Trump wearing a mask, waving at the cheering crowd from his motorcade. Following the surprise spectacle, Jadir, the deputy press secretary, confirmed that the president returned to Walter Reed. President Trump took a short last-minute motorcade ride to wave to his supporters outside and has now returned to the presidential suite inside Walter Reed, he said. Subsequently, Dr. James P. Phillips, the attending physician at Walter Reed, criticized the president for the stunt. Every single person in the vehicle during that completely unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days, he tweeted. Sorry about that. They might get sick, they may die for political theater. Commanded by Trump to put their lives at risk for theater. This is insanity. In a second tweet, he added that presidential SUV is not only bulletproof, but hermetically sealed against chemical attack. The risk of COVID-19 transmission inside is as high as it gets outside of medical procedures. The irresponsibility is astounding. My thoughts are with the Secret Service force to play. Earlier Sunday, the president's medical team said Trump's health continues to improve following his coronavirus diagnosis, and said that he may be discharged from the hospital as early as Monday. During a press conference late Sunday morning at Walter Reed National Military Medical Hospital, Dr. Sean Conley confirmed that Trump was given supplemental oxygen on Friday out of concern of possible rapid progression of the illness, which the president was adamantly against. Conley said the president had a high fever and his oxygen saturation was dipping below 94%. Today he feels well. He's been up and around. Our plan for today is to have him to eat and drink, be up out of bed as much as possible to be mobile. And if he continues to look and feel as well as he does today, our hope is that we can plan on discharge as early as tomorrow to the White House, where he can continue his treatment course, said Dr. Brian Garibaldi, following Conley's press conference on Saturday, when he said he was extremely happy with Trump's recovery process after officials described him as experiencing mild symptoms. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows issued a statement that described Trump's state of health Friday as very concerning. We're still not on a clear path yet to a full recovery, Meadows said. Conley said Meadows' statement was misconstrued. Meadows meant to highlight a momentary episode of the high fever and the temporary drop in the saturation, according to Conley. Fortunately, that was really a very transient, limited episode. A couple hours later, he was back up mild again. I'm not going to speculate what that limited episode was about so early in the course, but he's doing well. So that's that, and I mean it's good that he's doing well. I mean we need a good president who's out there, willing to do anything make to keep the country great, and I mean it's just good. And by the way, here is the breaking news. This from justthenews.com. Breaking: White House, or President Trump says he'll return to the White House on Monday night. President Trump says he'll return to the White House on Monday evening after being treated over the weekend for the coronavirus. I will be leaving the Great Walter Reed Medical Center today at 6:30 p.m., Trump tweeted. Feeling really good. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. We have developed, under the Trump administration, some really great drugs and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 minutes ago. A press conference held by the president's doctors at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in suburban Maryland was scheduled for 3:30 p.m. Eastern, so that's about an hour 20 minutes ago. Trump announced late Thursday night that he had tested positive for the virus. So it's good that he's feeling a little better. It'll be interesting to see what comes up in the days ahead, especially with the next presidential debate coming up in roughly about a week from this Wednesday, or rather a week from this Thursday, with the vice presidential debate coming up on Wednesday. Be interesting what Pence and Harris have to say about that during the debate. But I'll keep you updated as to how things are going right here. President Trump made it back to the White House yesterday to continue his recovery from the coronavirus. Got this from the Daily Signal, so let's get right to it. Trump back at White House after 3-day hospitalization for COVID-19. President Donald Trump returned to the White House on Monday evening after being discharged from a military hospital where he was treated for COVID-19 for 3 days, Within an hour, the president released a video in which he urged Americans not to let the disease dominate your lives. After disembarking Marine One, the helicopter that flew him back, Trump climbed stairs to a White House balcony where he took off a mask, saluted as the aircraft went off, waved, and gave a thumbs up. The president had walked out of Walter Reed National Military Medical Center wearing a mask at 6:42 p.m., giving a thumbs up to cameras outside the facility at Bethesda, Maryland, as Trump strolled to the armored sport utility vehicle that took him to Marine One. Outside the hospital, a reporter shouted to ask whether he was a quote-unquote super spreader of the disease caused by the new coronavirus. After reaching the SUV, the president turned and gave another thumbs up and fist pump. The helicopter was wheels up at 6:46 p.m. according to the press pool report, and landed at the White House at 6:57. Just before 8 p.m., the president tweeted out a new video from the White House in which he thanked his caregivers at Walter Reed, touted advances in drugs and treatment, and urged Americans not to let COVID-19, quote unquote, dominate your lives. We're the greatest country in the world. We're going back. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front, Trump said, adding, as your leader, I had to do that. I know there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led. Nobody that's a leader would do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there, be careful. And the vaccines are coming momentarily, Trump added. The helicopter ride from Walter Reed took about 10 minutes before it touched down on the south lawn of the White House. After getting out, Trump waved and walked up the south portico steps where he turned, buttoned his suit jacket, and gave a long salute. He said a few words, but the press pool reported that the words were inaudible. The president announced in a tweet early Friday that he and First Lady Melania Trump had tested positive for COVID-19, the disease that has killed more than 200,000 Americans since spreading around the world from Wuhan, China. Since Trump tested positive Thursday night for COVID-19, several high-level White House staffers, among them Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, have also tested positive. At 74 and somewhat overweight, Trump is in a high-risk category. However, his symptoms reportedly were moderate. Feeling really good. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life, Trump tweeted earlier Monday. We have developed, under the Trump administration, some really great drugs and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 years ago. On Sunday, a mass Trump left the hospital early, or briefly for a short motorcade in his SUV to wave to supporters gathered outside since Friday. It is reported that the media is upset because I got into a secure vehicle to say thank you to the many fans and supporters who were standing outside the hospital for many hours and even days to pay their respect to their president. If I didn't do it, media would say rude. The White House said the president's doctors advised him to check into the hospital out of an abundance of caution. Dr. Sean Conley, the president's physician, said earlier Monday that Trump had, quote unquote, exceeded all standard hospital discharge criteria. The team and I agree that all of our evaluations, and most importantly his clinical status, support the president's safe return home, where he will be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7, Conley said. Doctors reportedly put the president on 8 different medications, including remdesivir, which is among the most common antiviral drugs given to COVID-19 patients, monoclonal and antibiotic, quote-unquote, cocktail of several drugs, the steroid dexamethasone, famotidine, widely known as by the brand name Pepcid, vitamin D, melatonin, a naturally occurring hormone with antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, and aspirin and zinc. The First Lady also tweeted Monday, I'm feeling good and will continue to rest at home. Thank you to the medical staff and caretakers everywhere, and my continued prayers for those who are ill or have a family member impacted by the virus, she wrote on Twitter. Along with my family is grateful for all of the prayers and support. I'm feeling good and well and will continue to rest at home. Thank you to medical staff and caretakers everywhere. And my continued prayers for those who are ill or have a family member infected by the virus. And that from the Daily Signal. Now, like I said, I'm still holding out hope that it is one of those false positives that we always hear about. One never knows what'll happen, but we are just under 28 days until the election. So who knows? Like I said, I mean, this could be an early October surprise. Although, based on other news that I had seen, which I might get to in future videos, that there is a classification of documents coming up, and I'll get to that. But for now, we have this article from Fox News, which says Trump discharged from Walter Reed returns to White House. President Trump was discharged from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center and returned to the White House on Monday to continue his fight against the novel coronavirus after his medical team warned that he may not be totally out of the woods yet. Dressed in a navy suit and tie and wearing a face mask, Trump walked out of Walter Reed on his own. Upon walking out the doors of the hospital, he made a low fist pump and gave a thumbs up to the press as he got into a black SUV to head to Marine One. The president teased his return to the White House Monday afternoon, saying he is feeling really good. Don't be afraid of COVID, the president tweeted. Don't let it dominate your life. We have developed under the Trump administration some really great drugs and knowledge. Pretty much the same things that the Daily Signal said, with a few differences. That being, Trump appeared to have his re-election campaign at the forefront of his thoughts shortly before departing Walter Reed, promising his followers on Twitter that he will be back on the stump soon, and bashing polls that show him trailing Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden. And it says here that the White House physician, Dr. Sean Conley, said that the president met most of his discharge requirements on Sunday afternoon. We try to get patients out of the hospital as quickly as possible, Conley said. There is nothing being done here that we can't safely do at home. He added, we all remain cautiously optimistic and on guard because we're in a bit of uncharted territory when it comes to a patient who will receive the therapies he has. Conley added that HIPAA prevents him from discussing some details about the president's health. Another member of the president's medical team said that his heart rate as of Monday was measured at 68 beats per minute and that he had a 97% blood oxygen level. A normal blood oxygen reading is between 95 and 100%. Conley also told reporters Monday that the president has not been on fever-reducing medicine for over 72 hours. The medical team also said that the president does not have any respiratory complaints and will receive his fourth round of remdesivir before he departs Walter Reed Monday evening. The team said that the president will receive his final dose of remdesivir at the White House on Tuesday. Conley stressed that Trump will receive world-class medical care at the White House, saying we're not going to miss anything we would have caught up here, while maintaining that the president is back. The president was admitted to Walter Reed on Friday after experiencing what the White House at the time described as mild symptoms. Conley said the president was a little dehydrated on Friday upon being admitted to Walter Reed and had a fever. On Friday, according to a White House official, there was real concern about his vitals. The president also has faced health scares throughout his battle with COVID-19, including 2 instances in which his blood oxygen level dropped suddenly. Doctors treated the president with a dose of the drug dexamethasone in response. Conley said that Trump had a high fever and a blood oxygen level below 94% on Friday, and during another episode on Saturday. But by Saturday, Conley said the president's cardiac, kidney, and liver functions were normal, and that the president was not on oxygen and was not having any difficulty walking or breathing. Came up with and Conley said that the president had received the aforementioned antibody cocktail. And also on Monday, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany announced that she had tested positive for COVID-19 after testing negative consistently, including every day since Thursday. I tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday morning while experiencing no symptoms, McEnany said in a statement. No reporters, producers, or members of the press were listed as close contacts by the White House Medical Unit. Other White House staff who have tested positive for COVID-19 at this point include Senior Advisor Hope Hicks and Director of Oval Office Operations Nick Luna. Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien also tested positive for COVID-19. Former counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, has also tested positive. And former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who participated in debate prep with the president recently, did too and was admitted to the hospital over the weekend. McEnany said Sunday that the White House would not be releasing the names or the exact number of staffers who have become infected with the novel coronavirus, citing privacy concerns. There are privacy concerns, McEnany said. We take seriously safeguarding the information of personnel here in the White House. And, our prayers continue to go out to the president. And, with 28 days, who knows what's going to happen, but I'll keep you updated here as time goes on. The vice presidential debate is tonight, and things might be a little bit mellower than the first presidential debate was last week. But will it really matter? That's the question that was posed by Joe Cunningham over at redstate.com. And let's see just what he had to say about that. Will the 2020 vice presidential debate matter? What to expect in Mike Pence versus Kamala Harris debate? Senator Mike Pence will take on Senator Kamala Harris in the 2020 vice presidential debate tonight. As far as primetime television goes, it is definitely a thing that is happening. It's really hard to get excited about this one. The last debate was a train wreck, and since the last debate, the news cycle has been insane. I mean, President Donald Trump got COVID-19. It's been an insane ride since that bit of info dropped. I almost forgot this debate was even happening, but happening it is, and it is something to pay attention to. In the past, vice presidential debates never really mattered. People don't vote on who the running mate is. They vote for who the presidential nominee is. The running mate is just along for the ride. There have been no elections that were transformed in any meaningful way by this debate. And yet, 2020 is out there, looking around every corner and waiting for the perfect moment to destroy any and all preconceived notions. If any year is going to see a vice presidential debate to the tide of an election, it will be this year. What to expect? Well, Harris has been laying low and been very quiet on the campaign trail. A couple of her public appearances and media hits have been a bit problematic for the campaign. Like the time she referred to a quote-unquote Harris administration instead of a Biden one. She has also been out of sync with the campaign on key issues. However, Harris has had experience debating her using her skills as a prosecutor to tear opponents apart. The problem she'll face is doing so without alienating the voters, like she did in the primary race to be the Democrat nominee. Still, she's not battling other Democrats. She's battling a Republican. Chances are she won't scare off Democrats. Her goal here will be to attack and hit the Trump administration on the issues of race and COVID-19. But if she doesn't handle herself well on issues that may chase away moderate voters, like healthcare, taxes, and the Green New Deal, you can expect moderate voters to get antsy. That's where Pence's strength comes in. In 2016, Pence debated Tim Kaine, whose debate strategy appeared to be 35,000 dad jokes in lieu of a personality. This time he's taking out a more aggressive opponent in Harris, but his strategy will likely remain the same. He'll focus on being calm and collected throughout, while attempting to tie Harris to extreme progressive policies. The goal will be to frighten moderate voters away from the socialist policy the Biden-Harris administration will try to enact. Pence will be focused on touting the successes of the Trump administration, but he will be sure to add, and you will lose all this if Biden and Harris win, because they're super progressive and will be out to get you. Who will win? Given last week's debate, I doubt anyone can quote-unquote win here, but I expect that there will be plenty of opportunities to lose. The goal of both campaigns in 2020 appears to be more scare people away from the other side, rather than attract people to our side. Trump has got to expand his base, and this is Pence's chance to do it. Likewise, Biden's campaign has to show that there is unity and strength in the ticket, and Harris has to succeed in being aggressive where Biden can't always be. The debate begins at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, and will air on every major news network. Now, I somewhat agree with the article, except for one thing. Okay. When Sarah Palin was John McCain's running mate in 2008, I voted for McCain basically because of Sarah Palin. I mean, John McCain was too milquetoast, too low key, and I mean, I just felt that he wasn't a good job. I mean, if it wasn't for Palin, and if McCain had voted or had nominated someone of a lesser caliber, I don't know what I would have done. But that was then. This is now, and we are some 30 or 27 days, just inside 27 days until the election. And so this is the vice president candidates' only shot at making a name, and and proving themselves worthy, as well as elevating the presidential ticket, or as well as elevating the president nominees. And this from USA Today, who says Harris Pence is going to be really hugely important, and not just due to Trump's COVID. The momentous debates of this past week greatly increased the odds that the sole debate between Senator Kamala Harris and Vice President Mike Pence will have an outside impact on the election just 1 month away. The presidential debate in Cleveland was marred by continual interruptions and personal insults, which the American public found disheartening. President Donald Trump's positive coronavirus diagnosis revealed early Friday, threw the campaign and remaining presidential debates scheduled into doubt. The recent national polls following these tumultuous events are ominous for Trump's re-election prospects, and Pence will have to try to stop the bleeding at the vice presidential debate Wednesday in Salt Lake City. There is unusual interest and anticipation surrounding the Pence-Harris debate for a multitude of reasons. Undecided voters want to be confident that it's still possible to conduct a civil and substantive political debate without such a watershed, or during such a watershed election. Given the age and health of the two presidential nominees, It's essential for Harris and Pence to reassure voters that they are capable of stepping into the role of commander-in-chief at a moment's notice. Joe Biden will be the oldest president ever elected and not formally committed to running and has not formally committed to running for a second term in office. High stakes for both sides. The debate will be moderated or divided into 9 segments by moderator Susan Page of USA Today, and there is no doubt coronavirus will be front and center. The candidates will be sitting on stage, but distanced 12 feet apart and separated by plexiglass. The audience will consist of fewer than 200 people, and anyone not wearing a face mask will be asked to leave the venue. According to the Commission on Presidential Debates, the safe and responsible execution of a vice presidential debate at this trying time is important for the country to witness. The contrasting backgrounds, styles, and personalities of the two nominees also guarantee a fascinating matchup. Harris is a first-term senator who previously served as California Attorney General and San Francisco District Attorney. She has used her prosecutorial background and position on the Senate Judiciary Committee to grill high-profile witnesses like Attorney General nominee William Barr and Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Harris participated in 5 Democrat presidential primary debates this cycle and briefly reached top-tier status in the race after a rival and personal exchange with Biden over school desegregation in California, but she quickly faded in part due to inconsistent positions on healthcare reform as she vacillated between the left and center of the ideological spectrum. Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard surprisingly ended up being Harris's most formidable foe during the Detroit and Atlanta debates. Gabbard got under her skin by attacking her prosecutorial history and raising questions about her national security qualifications. Harris, who arrived in Salt Lake City late Friday, is preparing for the debate with help from another primary rival, former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who is standing in for Biden, or rather for Pence, a fellow Hoosier. Pence in the 2016 presidential debate. Before becoming vice president, Pence was governor of Indiana and an Indiana congressman, as well as a conservative talk radio show host. His performances in the Indiana gubernatorial debates were inconsistent. Pence has a measured debate delivery style and was a wildcard heading into his matchup with Virginia Senator Tim Kaine in 2016. He relentlessly attacked Hillary Clinton's private email server while defending Trump's tax returns. Pence didn't discuss his Midwestern values, but had no trouble delivering punishing attack lines with a smile. Polling showed that Pence narrowly emerged victorious in the vice presidential debate, in part due to lower expectations. He was described as feisty and benefited from Kaine's numerous interruptions throughout the evening. Pence will certainly attack Harris's liberal Senate voting record, while also aiming barbs at Biden and defending President Trump's record. In an ironic twist, Pence now finds himself in the same position as Biden in 2012, after Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney prevailed over curiously passive President Barack Obama in their first debate. Among flagging poll numbers, Biden was tasked with righting the ship and providing a lot of momentum in his debate with Romney winning mate Paul Ryan. The stakes were even greater for Pence in 2020, given Trump's health and the many other obstacles facing the campaign. There are reasons to believe that Pence can replicate Biden's debate success story from 2012. He will again benefit from low expectations given Harris's high-profile record and experience, and she will be constrained from delivering a full-throttle attack against Trump as he continues recovering from COVID, also a potential advantage for Pence. As in 2012, an unexpectedly dynamic debate performance by a vice presidential nominee could provide much needed energy to the troubled Trump-Pence campaign at the most crucial time. It would be a mistake to again underestimate Mike Pence, and surely no one understands the potential for this role reversal no better than Joe Biden himself. And I mean, 27 days tonight, both candidates both vice presidential candidates have to shine. Pence has been in this situation before, as the article said. So it'll be very interesting to see just what happens and just what the deal is. But Jim Garrity also had written something on National Review. If let me go there. Tonight's VP debate, and it says on the menu today a big preview of tonight's much higher stakes than usual debate between Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, and a rather absurd criticism of Amy Coney Barrett. This is the morning jolt, I think. And it says Pence Harris, the Veep debate is tonight. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern is the vice presidential debate. And almost every 4 years, the media hype the event with quote unquote most vice presidential debates don't amount to much. But this year, this one really matters. And for once, it appears true. You know, the president appears to be recovering from his coronavirus infection well, but we never know for certain whether the president will serve a full term. And Joe Biden turned 78 shortly after the election. Either Mike Pence or Kamala Harris could well end up taking the oath of office before January 2025. Apparently, I think that was 20. Well, yeah. Anyway, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine was the Democrat vice presidential nominee in 2016. I mention this because many people, including those who follow politics, periodically forget this fact. It was the wildest, craziest, most unpredictable, and most surprising presidential race in U.S. history, and somehow it's as if the Democrats' vice presidential nominee was erased from our collective memories. I remember Pence doing well in the debate 4 years ago, but I didn't really remember how many headlines and media institutions that never wanted to give the Trump campaign much credit for anything begrudgingly admitted Pence did a better job than his Democrat counterpart. And you see Los Angeles Times. We scored the debate and Mike Pence won. The Guardian. It wasn't a pretty night for Tim Kaine. Vox, why Mike Pence beat Tim Kaine at the VP debate in one tweet. The Associated Press, Republican Mike Pence won bipartisan plaudits for a calm and collected performance in the vice presidential debate. I mean, even Clinton's team wasn't claiming that Kaine had come out on top, despite the chest puffing that usually follows a political debate. Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta said only that Kaine had succeeded in his strategic mission to challenge Pence to defend his controversial running mate. Now, Kamala Harris will be more aggressive than Tim Kaine. She was aggressive enough to more or less call Joe Biden a racist in that first debate, a direct attack that had stunningly little long-term fallout. The word is Harris will go after Pence for the administration's response to the coronavirus, including Pence's April 24 statement. I think honestly, if you look at the trends today, I think that by Memorial Day weekend we will have this coronavirus epidemic behind us. I wouldn't be surprised if she brought up Pence not wearing a mask while visiting the Mayo Clinic in April. Pence subsequently said he should have worn a mask. Harris may well point out that at last week's debate, Trump declared, "I don't wear a mask like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 20 feet away or 20 feet away from him, and he shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen." As we now know, sometime that week, Trump was infected with coronavirus. Harris and Pence will be separated by plexiglass barriers, and at some point, Harris may emphasize that she thinks it is necessary after last week's revelations. A moment before mocking Biden's mask as being too large, Trump said, "I have a mask right here. I put a mask on when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things you have to, but I wear masks when needed." Except the Cleveland Clinic, who was in charge of coronavirus precautions for the event, didn't test the president and his entourage. Their statement was individuals traveling with both candidates, including the candidates themselves, had been tested and tested negative for their respective campaigns. The clinic and debate organizers presumed that President Trump, the First Lady, and his staff had been verified as virus-free by the White House and/or Trump campaign. Except we now learn that the president being tested regularly did not mean every day. And there is a quote there. First family, including Melania Trump, did not wear masks at the debate. Harris is likely to declare that the president scoffed about Biden's mask when he was either infected or on the verge of being infected, and then likely brought infected people with him to the last debate. This is a long article, so the link will be in the description below. But that's just some of the highlights from that article. You know, tonight should be interesting. Like as I keep saying, and I will have the a recap of it tomorrow. So stay tuned. The vice presidential debate was yesterday, and there was not too many fireworks as there were in the first presidential debate. It was actually quite more cordial. I have 6 highlights and 7 takeaways from it. Let's get right to it. This coming from the Daily Signal, 6 highlights from the Pence-Harris debate. During the vice presidential debate Wednesday night, Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat California, and Vice President Mike Pence sparred over a variety of policies, revealing significant differences on several issues. The debate, which was moderated by USA Today Washington Bureau Chief Susan Page, featured the two contenders discussing issues ranging from climate change and COVID-19 to abortion in the Supreme Court. Here are 6 highlights from the debate. COVID-19, Harris aggressively attacked the Trump administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. After the opening question, she laid out what could be called a prosecutor's case. The American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country, the California senator said, and here are the facts. 210,000 dead people in our country in just the last 7 months. Over 7 million people have contracted this disease. More than 5 businesses closed. We're looking at frontline workers treated like sacrificial workers. We're looking at 30 million people who in the last 7 months had to file for unemployment. And Harris goes on to say that her plan is about, the Biden-Harris plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, testing, administration of a virus to make sure it's free. Pence heads the White House coronavirus task force, and he defended the administration's record. I want the American people to know that from the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first, the vice president said, because there were more than 5 cases in the United States, or before there were more than 5 cases in the United States, all people who would return from China. President Donald Trump did what no other American had ever done. That was, he suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Pence added Joe Biden opposed that decision. And it goes on to say that Pence also took a shot at a Biden scandal that effectively ended his 88 presidential bid. And it says in September of 87, Biden came in for withering criticism for borrowing lines from a speech by then British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock without attribution, knocking him out the race when it was subsequently revealed to be a larger pattern of borrowing lines from other politicians without credit. And Harris says, if the public health professionals like Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, meaning the vaccine, I'll be the first in line to take it, absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us we should take it, I'm not taking it. And Pence fired back that the California senator was politicizing the vaccine. The fact that you continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine, if a vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable, the vice president said. Senator, I just ask you stop playing politics with people's lives. The reality is we will have a vaccine by the end of this year, and it will continue to save countless American lives. Number 2, taxes and the economy. They sparred over the tax cuts passed by Congress in 2017 and debated Biden's health plan. And there were a lot of quotes there. I'll leave the the links to all this in the description below if you want to take a look at it. It says that according to the Washington Post, most Americans received a tax cut in 2017, not just the rich. And according to the left-leaning Tax Policy Center, Biden's proposal would increase taxes on all income groups, but the highest income households would see substantially larger increases, both in dollar amounts and as a share of their incomes. Number three, they also talked about climate change and fracking. And Harris said that Joe Biden will not ban fracking, and he's been very clear that he thinks about growing jobs. And Joe understands that the west coast of our country is burning, and sees what's happening in the Gulf states, which is being battered by storms. Pence addressed the issue of climate change, but also attacked Biden's campaign's promises for the environment. As I said, the climate is changing. We'll follow the science. And he also brought up that Joe Biden denied support for the Green New Deal. Even though, and Susan Page, the moderator, pointed out that the Green New Deal is on the Biden-Harris website. And as USA Today said, it's essentially the same plan as Harris co-sponsored with AOC. That was a reference to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat New York, the main sponsor of the Green New Deal in the House. And they spout over U.S. relations with China, including its role in the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Pence said that Biden has been a cheerleader for Communist China over the last several decades. Vice President criticized the record of the administration of Biden's boss, President Barack Obama, saying it had dismissed the idea that manufacturing jobs could ever come back to America. In our first 3 years, this administration saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs created, and that's the type of growth we're going to see, Pence said. Number five, they also battled over the Supreme Court in abortion, with the nomination of Federal Appeals Court Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Page asked both candidates what they would want their respective states of Indiana and California to do if the High Court were to overturn the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion nationwide and send the matter back to the states to decide for themselves. Neither candidate directly addressed the question, but both spoke of the abortion issue in the context of the Supreme Court. Harris said that it should be a woman's right to make a decision about her body and not that of President Trump and Vice President Pence. Pence reiterated his pro-life stance and called out the Biden-Harris ticket, saying that he couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands up unapologetically for the sanctity of human life. Pence also asked Harris at one point if she would support packing the courts, meaning increasing the number of Supreme Court justices to 10 or more, and then he accused her of not answering the question. Once again, you gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer, Pence said. The American people deserve a straight answer. In his remarks, Pence noted that the Supreme Court has had 9 justices over the past 150 years. They talked, and number 6, they talked about race relations. Vice presidential candidates also had a heated exchange on race relations and social unrest in major American cities. Harris called out Trump for what she claimed was his reluctance to condemn white supremacists, referring to last week's presidential debate between Trump and Biden. Last week, the President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists, Harris said. It wasn't like he wasn't given a chance, he didn't do it, and then he doubled down, and then he said, when pressed, stand back, stand by, this is a pattern of Donald Trump. She also cited the deadly 2017 Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. Pence countered by citing Trump's comments regarding the Charlottesville violence. And this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media so much in this country, that you selectively edit so much, Pence said, arguing that the media had distorted what Trump had said about there being very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville. After President Trump made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, the vice president said. He has done so repeatedly. You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American people. Then Pence went on the offense about Harris's prosecution record as a DA in San Francisco, stating that African Americans were 19 times more likely to be prosecuted for minor drug offenses than whites and Hispanics. And Pence said, stating that Harris increased the disproportionate incarceration and didn't lift a finger to pass the First Step Act on Capitol Hill, which is a bipartisan criminal justice reform bill signed into law by Trump in December 2018. Harris didn't directly defend her record as District Attorney of San Francisco, but pivoted to her record as California Attorney General. Having served as the Attorney General of California, the work I did is a model of what our nation needs to do and what we will be able to do, she said, adding, I was the first statewide officer to institute a requirement that my agents would wear body cameras and keep them on full time. We were the first to initiate that there would be training for law enforcement on implicit bias. And that from the Daily Signal, seven quick takeaways on the 2020 vice presidential debate. And the debate was less exciting. A reminder of what politics was like before Trump came onto the scene. Still, it had its moments that bolstered each campaign's strongest arguments. For Pence, it meant a frequent recursion to first principles and first-term successes. For Harris, that meant a focus on coronavirus and negative descriptions about the Republican Party and its president. Here are a few takeaways on how it went down. By the way, this is from Molly Hemingway over at the Federalist. Well, number one, Pence's superpower is debating. Pence is a former congressman and talk show host. Started off strong and kept getting stronger. Clearly came prepared for the debate, had a ready recall of facts and figures to bolster his points. And while he let several zingers fly, he stayed calm and steady, pushing back at what he perceived as unduly false statements, but without the constant interruptions of the Trump-Biden debate. He spoke slowly and left few cards on the table unplayed. He was nice, firm, decent, and likable. He made a strong case for Trump's foreign policy being effective and Biden's being decades of failure. He had Kamala Harris on the ropes about whether she and Biden would raise taxes on Americans in their first day in office. He effectively showed the country her refusal to openly support court packing, a position she previously supported. Number two, Harris's superpower is something other than debating. Conventional wisdom kneeling into the debate was that Harris, a former prosecutor, would obliterate the nice and meek Pence. It was never clear why that conventional wisdom formed, considering she performed poorly in the Democrat primary debates. She left that contest before the Iowa caucuses, and her only win was when she accused her now running mate Joe Biden of being a virulent racist. Representative Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii put the California Senator on the ropes for her criminal justice record. Having said that, Harris started strong in the VP debate with a rehearsed but very effective answer about the Trump administration's failures to handle the coronavirus epidemic the way she and Biden would. However, when pressed for details on what she did differently, she began to struggle and never quite regained a strong footing. And she lied frequently and perhaps in ways that were too easily caught. She lied about Abraham Lincoln, about the completely false Charlottesville hoax, and falsely claimed Trump called COVID a hoax. She feigned outrage when Pence said he hoped Democrats wouldn't engage in religious attacks on Amy Coney Barrett, but they've already done. But Harris herself tried to impose a religious test on a nominee for being a member of the Knights of Columbus, a Catholic lay group. Number three, and I said this yesterday, yes, VP debates matter. As soon as the debate was over and everyone knew that Pence did well, all the pundits said it didn't matter because vice presidential debates don't matter. Now, while it's true that the vice presidential slot isn't the most important thing on people's minds in a presidential election, these debates frequently matter. And it goes on to the article goes on to say that one of the contributors to Trump's stunning 2016 victory was how Pence did in his debate against Hillary Clinton's running mate, Tim Kaine, who was admittedly a bit of a disaster. And Pence is the embodiment of the answer to the question how the traditional Republican voter could ever vote for Trump, much less be so unfeelingly loyal to him. Pence articulates a Trump supporting traditional Republicanism that many voters hold, and it's a compelling and persuasive answer for millions of people purposely ignored by media coverage in its discussion of the 2020 election. Now, it's debate or parallel interviews, and Nancy Pelosi biographer Susan Page moderated the debate. Liberal commentators accused Pence of speaking too long, and Page certainly kept cutting him off. But Rick Klein said, of ABC News said that Pence spoke for 35 minutes 22 seconds, relative to Harris's time of 38 minutes 48 seconds. CNN claimed the two spoke about the same amount of time. Billed as a debate, the evening was more a parallel interview of each candidate. Americans might be better served by witnessing an actual debate between candidates. This is particularly true in an event where the media are functionally running the Biden campaign and refusing to ask questions about that the Trump campaign would like to see asked. Harris was asked about whether she and Biden claimed to pack the court, but only because Pence pressed her on the issue. It was Pence who brought up Biden's involvement in the false and damaging Russian collusion hoax that the country was put through over the last several years. Pence also raised the issue of impeachment, one of the only legislative accomplishments of the Democrat Party this Congress, albeit one that clearly backfired. Nonetheless, the range of topics was fairly good. Biased questions is another takeaway. One of the problems with the media being so uniformly in support of the Democrat Party and its goals is that nearly all the questions posed in debates are loaded with false assumptions. In fact, the first question to Pence was that the U.S. death toll was worse than almost every other wealthy country on earth. U.S. case fatality rate is 2.8%, is below Italy, the UK, Belgium, Sweden, Canada, France, Netherlands, Spain, Switzerland, and Germany, something that the media rarely mention. And it goes to, and Page didn't ask Harris about supporting a bailout fund for rioters. And as Ari Fleischer wrote, Page asked questions regarding some of President Trump's most controversial statements. Fair enough. But she didn't ask about Biden's UN black statement, blacks aren't diverse, getting arrested in southern Africa, flip-flopping on fracking, packing the court, or Harris comparing ICE to the KKK. Number 6, smuggler. And one of the most surprising things about last night's debate was how Harris struggled to keep cool, particularly at the beginning. Harris bobbed her head, shook her head, laughed oddly, sneered, and generally exuded smug vibes. Controlling facial expressions on TV is difficult, but important for the medium. And even when a huge fly landed on Pence's mane to the distraction of many, he kept the same calm demeanor. Pence is a deceptively strong debater who would have been tough to beat even on a good night, but Harris's comparatively weaker statement or substance combined with a frankly awful style did not help her out. And the final takeaway is that there is no need to blame poor performances on sexism. Following the debate, many of the media hosts who serve as Biden-Harris surrogates are saying, without evidence, that Pence had mansplained to Harris, or that women are held to different standards than men on the debate stage, or that criticism of her smugness was sexist. Not everyone's a good debater. Most people aren't. In fact, Pence is very good. Harris is a bit overbearing. Some people love it, and it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Such is life. Something Trump deals with, too. Harris could improve her performance by lowering the temperature on her condescension and developing more substance behind her brashness. Now, and that's from the Federalist. Now, one one thing that had, I mean, I wouldn't I wouldn't quite call it surprising, but rather interesting is this picture right here. With the plexiglass, and I mean, it's interesting how things have have changed, especially since the debate, since the first presidential debate last Tuesday. And oh, by the way, tomorrow I'll be talking about some changes to the next presidential debate, which will be next Thursday. And that I had found to be very interesting. But yeah, and going into the article from Fox News, it says there were uh, that there was a spirited opening, and over the past 7 months, Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden has repeatedly criticized the president, charging Trump initially downplayed the severity of the outbreak and claiming he botched the federal government's response. And Harris argued that this administration has forfeited their right to re-election based on this, and argued that they still don't have a plan and Joe Biden does. Pence, defending the administration, emphasized that from the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of the American people first. And when Pence brought up Biden's plagiarism controversy from his first White House run in '88, Harris shot back, saying whatever the vice president's claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at 210,000 dead bodies in our country, American lives that have been lost, families are grieving that loss. And Pence said that there's not a day gone by that I haven't thought of every American family that's lost a loved one. And they traded fire over the Supreme Court confirmation battle. And this as the president nominated Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court to fill the seat vacated by the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The conservative Barrett, 48 years old, currently serves as a judge on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. The passing of the 87-year-old liberal justice, who was a trailblazer and a strong advocate for gender equality and civil rights, has sparked a fierce partisan fight. Trump and Senate Republicans are moving quickly, with the election less than 6 weeks away, to confirm Barrett and tilt the high court ideologically further to the right. Pence and Harris sparred over how some of Barrett's religious views will be central to the confirmation debate. That debate kicks off next week in the Senate Judiciary Committee, where Harris is one of the Democrat members. And it goes on to say that Pence had asked Harris if she and Biden were going to pack the Supreme Court to get their way. And Harris said that Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on the Supreme Court for a lifetime. Pence fired back that Harris gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer. The American people deserve a straight answer, and if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they're going to pack the Supreme Court. And they battled over trade war with China. And let's see what else they say. And hours before the two candidates faced off at the University of Utah, a new Fox News national poll indicated Biden widening his advantage over the president. The survey, conducted after last week's combative presidential debate, which appeared to do Trump no favors, and after the president was hospitalized, indicated Biden leading by 10 points up from a 5-point advantage last month. New polling in some of the crucial battleground states also pointed to a post-debate bounce for the former vice president. And that from Fox News. And I mean, it looks to be very, very tight, very interesting, and and with us being about 26 days, 5 hours, 30 minutes until the election. I mean, things are happening fast and furious. As a matter of fact, right now, Vice President Pence is in Peoria. So let's see what happens in these 26 days. Get your popcorn ready, folks. As if the 2020 election wasn't already thrown into the mix with the coronavirus, the debate on the 15th is already going to be canceled, and who knows what's going to happen on the 22nd. This from the Associated Press. Next Trump-Biden debate's uncertain, though October 22nd is likely. This from the Associated Press. The campaign's final debates between President Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden were thrown into uncertainty Thursday as the rival camps offered dueling proposals for the remaining face-offs that have been upended by the president's coronavirus infection. The chair of the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates told the Associated Press that the final debate, scheduled for October 22nd, was still slated to go on with both candidates present as planned, but next Thursday's debate seemed to be gone after the Trump team objected to the commission's format change. The whipsaw day began with an announcement from the commission that the town hall style affairs set for October 15 in Miami would be held virtually. The commission cited health concerns following Trump's infection as the reason for the change. Trump, who is eager to return to the campaign trail despite uncertainty about his health, said he wouldn't participate if the debate wasn't in person. Biden's campaign then suggested that the event be delayed a week until October 22nd, which is when the third and final debate was already scheduled. Next, Trump countered again, agreeing to a debate on October 22nd, but only a face-to-face, and asking that a third contest be added on October 29, just before the election. But Biden's advisors rejected squaring off that late in the campaign. After the release late Thursday of a letter from Trump Dr. Navy Commander Sean Conley that the president had completed his course of therapy and could resume campaigning this weekend, the Trump campaign called on the commission to hold next week's debate in person as originally scheduled. There is therefore no medical reason why the Commission on Presidential Debates should shift the debate to a virtual setting, postpone it, or otherwise alter it in any way, said Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien. But campaign chair Frank Fahrenkopf said late Thursday that the decision to hold the debate virtually, guided by its medical advisors at the Cleveland Clinic, was not going to be reversed. The commission said it made the announcement in order to protect the health and safety of all involved, including the everyday citizens that invited to ask questions of the candidates. The debate commission, which has the unenviable task of finding common ground between the competing campaigns, already came under scrutiny after the first debate between Trump and Biden deteriorated, with the president frequently interrupting his opponent and the moderator unable to take control. The October 22nd debate in Nashville, Tennessee is scheduled to feature a format similar to the first. Biden's campaign had suggested that it be modified to the town meeting format, though the Trump campaign has not weighed in. Founded after the 1984 presidential election, the commission has organized every general election debate since 1988 and typically selects the dates, moderators, formats, and locations without input from the candidates. Biden moved quickly to make sure he would still appear in front of a television audience next week. Instead of debating Trump on Thursday, he will take part in a town hall sponsored by ABC News. As he campaigned in Arizona, Biden said he would indeed attend the October 22nd debate. We agreed to 3 debates back in the summer, Biden said. I'm showing up, I'll be there, and if in fact he shows up, fine. If he doesn't, fine. For Trump, who is recovering from COVID-19 and at the White House after spending 3 days in the hospital, the health-induced changes are an unwelcome disruption to his effort to shift focus away from a virus that has killed more than 210,000 Americans this year. In an interview with Fox Business anchor Maria Bartiromo shortly after the commission's announcement, Trump said insisted he was in great shape and called the idea of the virtual debate a joke. I'm not going to do a virtual debate, he declared. Stepien said Trump would stage a rally rather than debate next Thursday, though it's not clear if he will be well enough to do that. With less than 4 weeks until Election Day and with millions of voters casting early ballots, pressure is building on Trump to turn around a campaign that is trailing Biden in polls nationally and in most battlegrounds where the margin is narrower. A debate before an audience of tens of millions of television viewers could provide that reset, but another debate could also expose Trump to political risks. GOP strategists say the party's support began eroding after his seething performance against Biden last week, when he didn't clearly denounce the white supremacist group. Trump's apparent unwillingness to change his style to win back voters he needs, particularly women, was on display again Thursday during his Fox Business interview when he referred to Democrat vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris as a monster. Campaigning with Harris in Arizona, Biden called Trump's characterization of the first black woman on a major party's presidential ticket despicable, and added that it was so beneath the office of the presidency. This would not be the first time Trump has skipped a debate. During the 2016 Republican primary, he boycotted the last debate before Iowa's first in the nation caucuses, holding a fundraiser for veterans instead. A movie later speculated may have contributed to his loss in the state. Trump fell ill with the virus on October 1, just 48 hours after sharing a stage with Biden in person during the first presidential debate in Cleveland. While the two candidates remained a dozen feet apart, Trump's infection sparked health concerns for Biden and sent him to undergo multiple COVID-19 tests before returning to the campaign trail. His campaign announced Thursday that Biden had undergone his 5th such test and was found to be negative. Trump was still contagious with the virus when he was discharged from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center on Monday, but his doctor said Thursday he had completed his course of therapy and could resume campaigning this weekend. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, those with mild to moderate symptoms of COVID-19 can be contagious for as many as and should isolate for at least 10 days. Now, it's interesting how much things have changed, and especially with the debates being uncertain. The final debate still, the debate scheduled for October 22nd still slated to go on, and there's been a lot of jockeying. As a matter of fact, found this one from Hot Air. It's a little long. The link to the article will be parked in the description below. But just looking at that article, Team Biden said, let's move the town hall debate to the 22nd so that Trump can participate. Update: Trump team agrees, but update: Biden announces town hall event, and it goes on to say, with a couple of tweets, Joe Biden saying of President Trump, we don't know what the president's going to do. He changes his mind every second. That was Biden's way of putting on the issue until he and his team could confer and come back with a proper response. The result, new statement from the Biden campaign on the debate. As a result, Joe Biden will find an appropriate place to take questions from voters directly on October 15, as he has done on several occasions in recent weeks. And a la pundit who wrote this article thought that the Biden campaign would insist on holding the town hall event as scheduled on October 15 just because of the optics. And if the event was carried across all broadcasting cable news networks, as is standard for presidential debates, then Biden would have a massive audience all to himself, and it would be in a format conducive to him interacting with everyday Americans, where he can show empathy, and he wonders if Team Trump has been looking for an excuse to bail out of the debates. Normally, one would never encourage a candidate that's down big to forego an opportunity in a game-changing event. But Trump seems to have done himself so much damage in the first debate polling-wise that skipping the rest would be prudent. In fact, Roger Stone urged him to skip the second debate in an op-ed yesterday, in fact, complaining of bias by the debate commission. And we have, and it goes on to say in an update that it looks like the second debate really is off. Biden just scheduled his own town hall meeting with ABC for that evening instead. It's no coincidence that it came together so quickly. I'm sure Team Joe didn't want to give Trump a chance to change his mind and agreed to do the Zoom debate that night after all. If he wants to squander his few remaining opportunities to change the trajectory of the race, they're happy to take advantage. Now Biden's booked elsewhere and can't do it even if Trump decides otherwise. This just in from ABC News. This was a tweet from yesterday. ABC News will host a town hall with Joe Biden, moderated by George Stephanopoulos on October 15. The primetime event will take place in Philadelphia, where the former vice president will answer questions from voters. I mean, like, with us being only 25 days until the election, anything can happen, and it does, and we're seeing it firsthand right here. And actually, Ted Cruz Senator Cruz of Texas had even weighed in. This from Breitbart.com. Cruz on Trump not wanting virtual debate. I think the president is right on this. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican Texas, on Thursday supported President Donald Trump, pushing back against doing a virtual debate with 2020 Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden. I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating is all about. You sit behind a computer and do a debate. That's ridiculous. Trump said Thursday in an interview with Mornings with Maria on Fox Business Network. Cruz told FNC's Fox and Friends that Trump is right to not want to participate in a virtual debate charade. I think the president's right on this, and unfortunately, I think this is the pattern we've seen play out throughout the debates, where the moderators and the debate commissioner behaved like arms of the Joe Biden campaign. Cruz explained, I think the first debate, Chris Wallace did a terrible job moderating. Last night, I think Susan Page did a better job moderating. She didn't interrupt as much, but her questions were still, it's an interesting hypothetical to go back and look at the questions she asked and ask how the questions were, the questions ever differently had they been written by the Joe Biden campaign. And that virtually every question out of her mouth was from the left, with all of the assumptions Joe Biden and the Democrats believe. There was really very little pushing on the other side. The question here is to hold a virtual debate that benefits Joe Biden, that lets his staff be in the room, that lets him receive assistance, he added. One of the real concerns a lot of people have is if Joe Biden is even up to it, and if you insulate him and let him do the debate from the basement, well, that's eliminating the debate aspect of it. And listen, I think the reason the commission did this is the Democrats right now think they're winning. They believe Joe Biden's winning. I think they're very happy for Joe to not leave his basement for another minute between now and election day. And if the commission sticks to, I think we're going to do it virtually. I think the president is right to say I'm not going to participate in this charade. Now, I did not watch the the Tuesday vice presidential debate. However, I did see a couple of pictures, and one thing that I thought was a good touch is the plexiglass that was set up. I think that for the town hall debate, both candidates are sitting in chairs anyway. Divided by 6 to 12 feet. Anyway, sometimes I think even further. So why not just do that and just have plexiglass of so they can stay in their lanes, but then so they can stay on their side, but just walk around their half of the stage. I mean, it could work. And for the last debate, just set up the plexiglass and, just go that way. I mean, just make make things, you know, keep keep the social distance, keep everything, but, just have a have a face-to-face debate, but, tweak it a bit. I don't know, but anyway, as I keep saying this, with 25 days until the election, we're smack dab in basically a silly season and basically a silly year, and I mean, it it's just crazy, folks. And that's going to do it for the news for this week. I am Bulow. Again, if you like what you watch, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe and tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell an enemy or two even. And I will be back next week. Until next time, peace.